Let's start out west, Huts. We've already talked a bit about the East today, but it's clear in that Oilers-Stars series who has the advantage between the pipes. Jake Ottinger didn't have his best regular season, but he's been great in these playoffs. Have you seen anything different from him that's elevated his game?
Well, I think it's a product of him and his maturity, right? I think last time he had a good playoff run, it was the young, he's younger. Now expectations have set in. I think during the regular season, it can be a bit overwhelming, but I also think he's a benefit of a deep Dallas Stars hockey team. And for me, the key is his timely saves, his third period, his overtime, how he's played, and 5-on-5 with a 941 save percentage. That's going to keep any team in games. So for me, I think it's just the maturity level of him kind of blossoming into a goalie that, we thought he could be a few years ago. And now he has that experience between the years to go out there and be patient and play well in these big games.
Tyler, I want to stay with that series and kind of go to the other dressing room and talk a little Stuart Skinner. I think that was a big story in the last round. He loses the net for a couple of games to his backup. Then he comes back in game 6 and 7 and puts together really good showings. I think his team put together good showings, but I think he did too. From a goalie's viewpoint, did you see technical differences in the way that he played? Was it confidence related? I know we always talk about the reset. That seems to be the popular word of the hour right now in the NHL when you sit a guy down for a reset. So from your eyes, what did you see out of Skinner?
No, Colby, I think you're right. A little bit of a reset. And for me, I believe it's confidence, right? And I think this is something that isn't foreign to Stuart Skinner, right? At times he's been rock solid. Then at times he struggles and he kind of fails the eye test when things aren't going well. He's a little more scrambly. He's outside of his post. He fights rebounds. He doesn't track it as well. When he is dialed in, I think it was a great break where having a nice veteran like Kelvin Pickard to come in and just kind of seal the gap a little bit, calm things down, and get him back in, where I thought in game 6, he looked pretty fragile to me against that Vancouver Canucks, and they weren't able to capitalize on it. And then I think as the game went on, and Vancouver was a team that didn't really create a lot of quantity in their offense, right? So I think it was a great situation where they protected him. They did a good job. And this is an Edmonton Oilers team that can score. They're scoring 3.5 goals a game against the Vancouver Canucks in that series. So I think for him, if you can keep it at 2, keep it at 3, you're giving your team a chance. But this Dallas Stars team is going to create a little bit more of a problem with their depth. So for Stuart Skinner, I think going down there, finding his confidence that he has now from, building off that game 6 and game 7 win, he can be a difference maker for this Edmonton Oilers team to get over the hump.
And it's got to be a bit of a help too, like you said, when you have that Oilers offense in front of you and you're Stuart Skinner and you go, okay, even if I make one mistake, like the guys in front of me are going to pick me up to some extent, right?
Yeah, it kind of gives me the Darcy Kemper vibes of the Colorado Avalanche that year, right? I think, majority of the times as a team wins the Stanley Cup or in the Stanley Cup, their goalie is in the conversation for the Conn Smythe. But that year, Darcy finished with a 904 save percentage. He wasn't amazing, by any means at certain times, but, he just needed to be solid because he had the star-studded lineup, where it kind of gives me the same vibe with Stuart Skinner, where, the stars of Edmonton are going to carry the team. You just need to make timely saves and keep your team in games.
Out east, Sergei Bobrovsky. He had an interesting first series against Tampa Bay because there were a couple of tough games that kind of cratered his numbers. But you look at the game logs against Boston, and it's like 1s and 2s in the goals against column and nothing really more than that. What have you made of Bobrovsky so far this postseason? And is it the same dominant Bobrovsky we saw a year ago in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
I think it is. He didn't start well last year in the first round too. Very similar numbers, nothing, amazing. And like you touched on, Ty, I think there was a few games there. Game 4, when they tried to close out, he gave up 6 in Tampa, right? Kind of hurts your numbers. But for me, it's his high danger save percentage, like at specific times when games are tight, because obviously we all know what Jeremy Swayman was doing in the Boston end, but Florida still was giving up chances and he was making timely saves during that series. So I think for me in this, he's going to be challenged, right? Especially we know how the Rangers power play is. They're going to get to the net. They're a little deeper than Boston. So this is going to be a good challenge for Bobrovsky. What I love is his maturity, right? He's calmer. You can watch him carry himself. Even when he gets scored on, he kind of has a reset. And when they score as well, he has a reset. He has a way to kind of stay focused mentally in the moment, which I think will be important, especially playing at MSG this week.
So then let me just ask you this question, plain and simple. Who's got the edge? Is it Bob or is it Shesterkin? Because my eye leans Shesterkin.
Yeah, I don't think your eyes doing you wrong here, Cobes. You know, Shesterkin is a guy that has a lot of playoff success. And you look 2 years ago playing in that conference final against Tampa, right? So he has that experience and he played very well in that series. You know, and his numbers are through the roof during the playoffs. So for me, again, I talk about Bob's maturity and experience and how calm he is at times, where it'll be interesting to see how Shesterkin reacts here, because this is going to be a different series for him. They're going to try to get in his face. They're going to try to make it hard on him. And at certain times, he can have a short fuse, right? So it'll be interesting to see if he can manage those emotions during a tough series when teams are trying to make it hard on him. But trust me, I will tell you one thing: the Florida Panthers know how good he is, and they're going to try to make it hell on him during the series.
What are your predictions, Carter? Who you got winning each series and how many games?
You know, I honestly love the Dallas Stars here, but I'm biased to this Edmonton Oilers. I want to see Connor McDavid and Draisaitl get over the hump, so I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers. And in the East, I'm going to take the New York Rangers.
Wow.
All right, I love it.
Wow. All right.
That'd be a hell of a cup final.
Your head went where my heart went, but I had to go the other way because my head said differently.
That's okay. That's what we're here for. We got to disagree. It's a disagree day, I hear.
Yeah, it is. Colby and I have been going toe to toe all show. Huts, appreciate your time, man. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.